in the beginning of the journey with helping to adjust the European positioning for Big Green Egg and finding interesting target audiences for them. Amber.
Yeah, my name is Amber. I work for Big Green Egg Europe as marketing manager. I work for the company now for 9 years. And what I mainly do is think of the strategy that we should roll out in Europe and work on that strategy together with our distributors all over Europe. We have different distributors who are responsible for the marketing in their own countries. And so that's what I mainly do at the company. And we work now with Glocalities for about 5 or maybe already 6 years. So we did several projects together, and I look forward to telling you about it today in this webinar.
Yes. So what are the things that we're going to cover today? First of all, values-based brand positioning, how you can use values to build the target audiences. Use those insights to reach out also to your target audience, how to find them, how to communicate to them, and also about navigating social cultural differences because not everything will work in different markets to the same extent, so you might want to adjust. Things that we will cover in this particular case that of course can be used as an example to all other types of business challenges that you might face is, first of all, what was our challenge? How did we approach it? And then what were the results? So let's start with the introduction of Big Green Egg Europe.
Yeah. So before we start, it might be interesting for you to know a little bit more about Big Green Egg Europe. We know a lot about the brand awareness already, especially in some European countries. But for you to know more about the company itself is interesting, I think. So maybe we can go to the next slide, Mash. So Big Green Egg started the company in 1974. So actually next year we will be there for 50 years already. And the older man on this image is Ed Fisher. And he is the founder of Big Green Egg. And he started the company in Atlanta, Georgia, in the US. And in 2002, Wessel Budding, who is in the picture on the right side, he started Big Green Egg in Europe. He saw this product via a friend, and he thought, okay, this is a product that I have to do something with, and I believe in this product. So he decided to import it to Europe. And now, about 21 years later, we are active in 44 different countries in Europe. And that's from here, from the Netherlands. That is where our head office is. We set out the marketing strategy and sales strategy for Europe. And that is also quite unique because usually when you work for a global brand, it is quite common to get the strategy from the head office, from the main office, and then have to roll that strategy out. But for Big Green Egg, that's different. In the US, they also see that Big Green Egg is a different brand in Europe than it is in the US. That's mainly due to the culture of barbecuing, of outdoor cooking in the US versus Europe. So we could use our own strategy when it comes to the brand of Big Green Egg. So if we go to the next slide, we are here as Big Green Egg for almost 50 years already. And in the European market, what I just mentioned, a little bit less. We are here about 20 years in the European market. And over the years, we saw the brand growing and also the Kamado market growing in Europe. So in Kamado is the cooker that you see. So the ceramics barbecue, we call it a Kamado. And since it is introduced in the European market, we are the market leader. We are the original, already there for 50 years. But of course, together we have to make sure that we stay that market leader. And we've seen a lot of developments in this market. So if we go to the next slide, I want to explain to you that the barbecue market on itself is a highly competitive market. It's a competitive landscape. And for this reason, we as a brand need to make sure that we have a clear and consistent positioning. So customers really know what the values are of our brand. And this way really connect with our customers. When we first started Big Green Egg, or I have to say when Wessel started Big Green Egg, he started to focus a lot on the foodies. And that target audience worked really well for Big Green Egg. The foodies are people that have an above average interest in food. So they cook a lot, they read recipe books because they find it interesting, they just love good food. And it was a good target audience, but we saw that the market is bigger than only those foodies. But yeah, where to begin? Because the question is, okay, those foodies, those are interesting markets. We know that there is a bigger market for Big Green Egg. But for us, it was really important to know where to focus on as a brand. And we got into contact with Glocalities, and they explained us about their strategy and their vision on target audiences. And we as a company and a brand, we found it very interesting to know more about it, and decided to work together when it comes to the target audiences, to define the right target audience for Big Green Egg, so we could adjust our marketing strategy to that. So we asked Roel to find this target audience for us, and I think Roel will now tell you a little bit more about how the strategy for Glocalities is when it comes to this.
Of course. I guess the next slide, Mash. Glocalities. Well, the name is derived from global local ties, and that is exactly what we want to do. We want to unite the global with the local situation, not only look at overarching insights in, for instance, Europe or US, but also zoom into individual countries. And the main ingredient that we use are consumer values. What we measure in our own research program, worldwide research program. We do this every year now, since 2014. We measure the way people look upon life. So what makes people tick? What are drivers behind what they believe, and drivers also behind behavior. So of course we measure, as you can see in this wheel, the demographics of consumers worldwide. We know if they're high educated or low educated. We know if they're married or rich or poor. And we also measure the lifestyle, which is behavior, right? So we know if they have hobbies, adventurous hobbies, dangerous hobbies, nice and cute hobbies and all that. But really, what we really want to know is why people are doing all those things, what is behind it, and that is the value orientation of consumers. So the whole section in the wheel that you see at the right, you see value segments, trends, archetypes, and value cards. These are the topics that really tap into those drivers. So we know if people are more family oriented, or if people are more explorative, or people are more status oriented. I mean, the values are really the ingredients on which you base all kinds of narratives, stories. So for instance, like Amber said, if you originally focus on foodies, it's about focusing on experiencing. But for some people, it's also a way of collecting the family together in the garden, have a fantastic meal, and share familial love with each other. And so you need to know all these kind of let's say ingredients in the mind to really find those target audiences that more or less meet or resonate with what you as a brand stands for, let's say your brand values. And because you cannot please everybody, and especially as a lifestyle brand, what Big Green Egg is, You don't want to please everybody, because it's like what Amber said. It's really about a consistent, unique positioning. So what we did, we helped Big Green Egg finding by the right target audiences for their communication and marketing and their positioning, by looking at consumer groups with specific consumer values and matching those with the brand values of Big Green Egg. We can do this on an individual level with individual brand values, but we also have a segmentation in place that's in the model, in which we put people into boxes, you can say, but we don't put people into boxes with respect to age or other social demographical information or lifestyle, like I said. No, it's really about what they share in life in terms of values. And the nice thing is that when you know how consumer values are within these groups, you can easily compare them with the brand values of your brand. And that is exactly what we did. So we looked at which of those 5 groups are the most consistent and the most resonating with the brand values of Big Green Egg. And Amber is going to tell you a little bit more about that. Next slide.
Yeah, so that's all correct. What we saw for Big Green Egg is that the creative and the achiever, 2 groups, fit really well with our brand and with our philosophy as a brand. And if we go to the next slide, we can also see how we found that out, or how we saw that. And in this slide, you can see how Glocalities matched the brand values of Big Green Egg. You see them on the left side, how they match them with the values of the consumers. For Big Green Egg, the brand values are being successful, it's a social brand, capable, creative, open-minded, open to different flavors from different cultures, showing achievements in a subtle manner, and a purity. And we stated those brand values, and then we looked at, okay, which groups fit with the values of Big Green Egg. And we saw that the creatives and achievers fit the best with Big Green Egg on all those different values. So the achiever and the creative are the perfect match for Big Green Egg. And we are very happy with the results of those 2 groups because we see and we recognized already those 2 groups in our customer base. For example, when we do or did events, you of course look around and see what type of people are interested in Big Green Egg. You see the characteristics of the achiever and the creative in those audiences. And the achiever is more the entrepreneur. He likes to show off a little bit, and the creative is more the open-minded idealist. And he doesn't really show off, but he likes quality as well. And I think we will tell you a little bit more about the achiever and the creative later on. But I think first Roel and Mash will dive deeper into these 2 types.
Yes. So once we identified that these are the target audiences, then we dive deeper into the profiles of these 2 groups, based on which we then build strategy and communication directions that Big Green Egg took off with. So let's look at what kind of insights were delivered. So what do we know about creatives, one of the target audiences of Big Green Egg? First of all, creatives as a segment is present in every market, but to a different extent. Creatives are a bit less present in Eastern Europe. There are a lot more in Nordics, in Spain, in the Netherlands. But again, you can find them in every market. What distinguishes them from the rest of the population is they really feel like they are part of the world, a global citizen, a cosmopolitan, rather than heavily associating with the country that they are from. It really matters for them, the origin of the brand, the story that is behind the brand. So they really care about that. It's important. Business ethics for them is important, that the brand stands for a goal, a purpose. They are ecologically conscious, and they like to stand out from the crowd. They don't like to be just one of the many. They really want to be a standing. They want to stand out, and they like to share goods and services with others. They're a lot less patriarchal, they're a lot less pessimistic, so they are optimistic. And family is slightly less important for them than self development. When it comes to values profile, which is similar to what we saw before, but is measured in a slightly different way. So there we looked also at combination of visuals and keywords, similarly how you see here, and people needed to prioritize the visuals that they are most attracted to. And what distinguishes them from everyone else in the markets is how creative oriented they are. They are really focusing on idealism, adventure, curiosity. So it's a lot about self-discovery and being open. In absolute sense, values that are most popular for creatives, but oftentimes there are also values that are most popular for other segments of society, are freedom, friendship, equality, and healthiness. So you cannot ignore those values, but what really differentiates them is their creativity. In terms of the things that they aspire to, things that they would like to improve in their life, what really stands out is again the experiential aspect. They want to lead an active and exciting life, experience new things, help other people, and feel free and independent. In absolute sense, again, healthiness, being in balance and enjoying life is also very important and cannot be ignored. Then we looked at lifestyle. There are what we're presenting to you right now, of course, is the most prominent items. There are so much in the database on every item of hobbies and sports and music and holidays they like. So this is what really makes the group stand out, and that is again very much focused on art. They are interested in acting and writing and visiting museums and exhibitions, self study. They are more likely to do yoga and to meditate. In music, they are more likely to gravitate towards jazz and more classical music. In absolute sense, still, popular music, pop music, rock, soul are very popular amongst them, just like everyone else. So you can still use those types of songs in your commercials. Now, last but not least, for creatives, the persuasion tactics. So what kind of techniques in your communication you can use to resonate with them more? With the creatives, it is a lot more important to use metaphors. So an illustrative story, and that's something that Big Green Egg really incorporated in the commercial that we will share with you later. And the disrupt and reframe technique, when you're helping people look at something from a very different angle. What would really persuade them less than average is using tactics of fear or necessarily consistency. So it should really be a focus on metaphors and illustrative story.
Now it's my turn, right?
Yes.
The achievers. So the results that Marsh was telling you about the characteristics of the creators, they all can be found in our database. Like I said, so every year we conduct a survey on our own behalf. We also finance that by ourselves. We have more than 2,000 respondents yearly in every country, on all continents. And we measure always the same things. So it's the value things, it's the lifestyle things, it's how people act upon all kinds of environmental and social issues, psychology, like the persuasion tactics, aspirations in life people have, how do they want their life to develop in the coming 5 years. And all this information helps you to really grasp what is so important for target audiences. So we heard the creatives. I'm going to tell a little bit about the achievers. And the achievers are also very important target audience, consumer target audience, because like the creators, they are higher educated, often higher earners, but they really do differ from the creatives in the way they, in their look upon life. You can also imagine then that some of the achievers are, you will find more achiever in specific countries and less achievers in other countries. And that's what this graph is showing. Basically, everywhere where the creatives are big is in the northwestern part of Europe, South Europe. But when you go already to the eastern part of Europe or the Central European part or Russia for that matter, there you see that the achievers are the dominant group. And they differ from creatives. And they also have things in common. So exhibitionism, also the achiever is really about, I want to be successful, and I would also like to express it, and I also would like to show it. It's really about this improving social status. So for creative, success is also important, but it's not something completely to show off with. No, for the achiever, it is a way to cornerstone the position that they hold in society. They often think that they are on top of the food chain, and so they have no shame in showing that. Very optimistic, entrepreneurial mindset, belief in technology. They think also that technology solves problems in the world. But on the other hand, they also adhere to good old values and etiquette and the way it should be, and enjoying the good life and have fantastic food and high quality stuff. That is really what the achievers are all about. Let's move to the next slides. Again, value profile, ambitious, successful. I was already saying that. For the achievers, very important. Authority, nice, because they already think of themselves as a man or woman with authority, but for them, it's also important to be addressed by other authorities. So it's no problem with them but Amber is going to tell you about that. So you can use chef, cuisine cox, for instance, cuisinier, because they believe in authority. These people know about their profession. Again, the innovative part is also about the achievers. So they are more in, let's say, conservative in terms of etiquette and the way people behave among each other, the hierarchy between people. But it's really very modern and innovative when it comes to solutions. In the absolute sense, again, healthy, also very important for the achievers. Friendship and freedom. There you see the things they have common, and there you can also bridge between those two. The caring part is also nice because what is really important for achievers is the family. For creatives, if you said, they probably tell you, well, I'd rather spend time, or I spend more time with my friends than with my family. For the achievers, that's the other way around. May I have the next slide, please? Life aspirations then. How do you want your life to develop in the coming 5 years? Again, it's about success. It's about good looking. It's about appearance. And it's also about adventure and thrills and experiencing. That experiencing they share with the creatives, but it's more for the achievers, more focused on personal performance, as we will see also in the lifestyle things. And whereas for the creative, it's more about development and more about exploration and express your creativity. May I have the next slide, please? I already said that. So it's about action. It's about activity. So they like to watch Formula One racing, having a wonderful time in nightclubs. Also, a lot of young people belong to the achievers. It's about dancing, dating. But again, when you find the right match, then you marry, because in the end, achievers are a little bit, like I said, into the old-fashioned etiquettes. And they're really, I mean, they're doing a lot of things. So also in terms of pop music and all that, they find each other, the creators and the achiever. Also in the traveling, but for the achievers, it's more about luxury. It's more about having quality time, where creators also would like to go on an adventure, on a sober hostel, or maybe even a tent. But they have in common this wanted to see things. Nah, yes, and then the psychology here, the persuasion tactics. So for the creative, it was about metaphors, and it was about disrupt and reframe. That's not so well working for achievers. They rather have somebody with knowledge or with how do you call it? With authority to tell them that it's very good, that they should do this and that, and not do this and that. And they're really sensitive to, because by themselves they also think that they know a lot. Already also explained about their orientation on technology. So it's no problem telling those achievers lots of specs and lots of detail from an authority position about your actual product. They love it because they love also the technology behind it. So foot in the door is not working very well. They like to be treated with respect. Guarantees is also not so important, because when you have a good story and it's been communicated by authoritarians, then who needs guarantees anymore? On the other hand, achievers are really about quality. So the products they want to have is also about bragging about the high-tech technology, the state-of-the-art things that's behind the product. The achievers. Next slide.
Yeah, this gave us as BigConnect Europe a lot of insights on our on those two target audiences, the achiever and the creative. For me as a marketeer and being busy and focused on strategy, it's a lot of information, but very valuable information that we can work on with our different activations, focus on specific events and target audiences. But we also have one other challenge, and what I mentioned at the beginning of this webinar is that BigConnect consists out of different companies. So we have BigConnect Incorporated in Atlanta. We are the European head office in the Netherlands, and we have distributors all over Europe. So in every country we have a different distributor who is responsible for their own markets. And for me, as BigConnect Europe, it is very important that our distributors also know exactly who our target audience is. And the dealers who, again, sell our products to the consumer, they also should know about our target audience so they can focus on those type of people. So what we did to explain it a little bit better towards our distributors is we created a video that very clearly explains those two target audiences, and I would like to show that to you now.
The Kamado market in Europe is growing. More and more people are buying a Kamado. But who are these people? Who is buying our product, and are we focusing on the right target audience? Big Green Egg was one of the first players on the Kamado market and is still the leading player. However, the competitive landscape has changed over the years. Big Green Egg's position therefore needs to evolve. The time has come to determine our next step, to define our focus and Big Green Egg's target audiences in order to establish growth and build a future-proof brand. We initially focused mainly on the foodies, but to identify our true target audiences, we need to match them with our brand values. Extensive research has revealed that there are two potential target groups that match the brand values of Big Green Egg in Europe. They may also be foodies at heart, but they appreciate life and food in a much broader sense. Let us introduce the two groups, the creatives and the achievers. The achiever. He is an entrepreneurial networker whose focus is on family and community life. He likes to show what he has accomplished. The creative. He is an open-minded idealist who adheres to self-development and culture. His motivation to buy comes from within, without the urge to show off to family and friends. We know that communicating with these target audiences is country-specific and region-specific. In Europe, there are many different countries, each with its own culture. Whenever possible, we will adjust our communication in accordance with these cultural differences to maximize the results of our new growth strategy. Big Green Egg is proud to be the #1 Kamado on the European market and will continue to inspire new people and their loved ones with the ultimate outdoor flavor experience by exciting their senses and sharing the finest nature has to offer. Big Green Egg is iconic and always will be.
Yeah, so this video, in short, will explain perfectly what our target audiences are and what our focus is for Big Green Egg Europe. And we translated this video, it's very practical, of course, and we translated into different languages so that our distributors also could show this in their markets. And actually the first time that we showed this video was during our distributor meeting. We have a meeting with all our distributors once a year. And in 2018, this was in Atlanta, Georgia, the hometown of Big Green Egg, so where our headquarters is as well. And we invited all the distributors from Europe to Atlanta, and we showed this video and the whole new strategy. And I think Roel will also share his experiences of that meeting, because he was there as well. You can see it on the picture.
Yeah. I'm not the guy in the middle. Or she was a woman, I think. No, it was fantastic. It was really an adventure. With my colleague Martin, we were invited there to conduct a workshop in order to explain the target audience to the sales representative, European sales representatives and dealers and distributors. And there was also a fair organized by Big Green Egg Atlanta. It was a huge terrain full with Kamados, full with Big Green Eggs, all kinds of people having enormous amount of fantastic food on the grill. And you could also see that the Big Green Egg fans in America are to a certain extent different from from the achievers and the creatives in Europe. But hell, that's also why it's so important to always have in mind that what kind of audiences you're addressing. Now, Amber, you're going to say something about it, or shall I?
Yeah, no, I can. What we did before this meeting in Atlanta, where we launched this new target audience, we conducted a small research with the attendees of this meeting. So our distributors, but also our colleagues from the US, from Big Green Egg Incorporated, who also joined this meeting. And some of them responded to this, 27 of them. So for us, it was interesting to see, okay, what type of people are joining this this meeting, and who are our distributors? Are they part of these creatives and achievers? And this to really know as well how we should address them, and how we should connect them to the new target audience that we created together with Glocalities. And we saw that many of them were creators and achievers. So within the target audience that we set for BigRunX, so that also made it a little bit easier for us to convince them about these target audiences, because they could recognize themselves in these target audiences. And what Roel also mentioned is, during that meeting, we did not only present a lot of strategy, but we also did a workshop with them. And for us, and it's again very practical, but necessary that they understand the direction that we want to go into as a brand. So we really needed them to connect with this new strategy and to be convinced about it. So what we did, we organized a workshop. And in that workshop, we challenged them to find or define the persona in their target audience. So the persona of the creative and the persona of the achiever. And what would he or she, this perfect customer, what are the values of them, and how do they see them in their markets? And that was very helpful for us. And I still have conversations with distributors who refer to this workshop. Yeah, so very successful for us as well.
I think it
Mesh?
is, yes. I think it's a good example where it's very useful to understand where you and the people in your team or other kinds of stakeholders that you want to bring on board with your strategy, or that have to use the strategy to target the audiences that the brand chose, to understand whether they themselves fall into the target audience. If they fall into the target audience, it makes it easier for them to understand who they are. In some cases, it might be easier or more difficult. For example, I think, Amber, you earlier mentioned the other conversation where one of the distributors was an achiever, and it was very easy for him to sell to other achievers, but only after going through the whole process of doing the workshop and understanding who the creatives are, then he had a better grasp on how to also target the creatives. And if a person is a conservative, then it takes also extra effort for them to understand their target audience, if the target audience is not conservatives. Oftentimes, when we see amongst marketing teams, for example, is they are heavily creative, but their target audiences are not necessarily always other creatives. You need to know how to be able to communicate and resonate with people from other segments and other parts of society. And this is why we think this tool is so important, and that's something that Glocalities can do, whether it is on individual level or 27 people or thousands of people, to understand how you and your teams compare to your target audiences and how to step into the shoes of the target audiences if you're not necessarily that audience. So that you're not just within your echo chamber, talking within your bubble and not persuading people that you're trying to persuade. So this is a great tool to bring people on board and help them understand another type of person and build their personas.
Yeah, totally agree on that. And with all this knowledge about our target audience, of course, we also wanted to translate this to a new campaign, a new brand strategy for BigRunX, because what I mentioned at the beginning, we needed a strong positioning because of the competitive landscape. And we, with the values and with the knowledge of this research, we set up a new brand strategy. We did this together with an agency from Amsterdam that's called Fitzroy. And Fitzroy, with this knowledge, they defined our new brand strategy. And yeah, this was all based on the vision and the mission of BigRunX. So what I find really important as a brand, as a company, is to have a foundation, and your vision and your mission of your brand, of your company, are really the foundation of your brand and of your company. So what we defined is that we want to be the most lovable brand and the highest achievable reference when it comes to quality outdoor cooking. And our mission is that we want to share the love for quality and create memorable moments with like-minded people. So what I was already mentioned before as well is that Big Green Egg is a product that needs a story. We are a love brand, a lifestyle brand. We have a lot of fans, a fan-based brand. So we need to make sure that we connect with our customers, with our end consumers, and share the love that we have for our brand, share it with them so they have a reason to share that as well with their loved ones, because as soon as they share that, we get, of course, the word of mouth communication, and that is the most valuable type of promotion of marketing that exists, and the perfect way for Big Green Egg to let the brand awareness grow. So what we did together with Fitzroy is we wrote a brand story, and that was the basis for our campaigns after all. And I would like to show you the video of our brand movie, so you get an understanding of the story behind our brand.
Time is measured by things that change, by trends that come and go and come back again, by growing up, by the ones we see growing up. But some things never change, like the song that's part of you your entire life, the home you keep coming back to, or being together with the ones you love. You know it's perfect just the way it is. We are Big Green Egg, setting the standard since '74, staying true to who we are, because some things never stay the same, but some things never change. We are green forever. Big Green Egg, the evergreen.
Yeah, so in this video, you can see the different values that we found in the creative and achievers. You can see in this video, you can recognize them. What Masha already mentioned about the creatives is they are really convinced by metaphors. And that's also what we used, of course, in this video. And what Roel mentioned about the achievers is that they are convinced through attractiveness, and that's also what we try to do in all our communication. And achievers are more orientated to family. That's also what you can see in this video, and also trying new things and spending time together is what important values of the achiever and the creatives are. So we try to implement this brand story, and of course in all the activations that we do as a brand. And if I start talking about our campaigns, our activations, then we can continue this meeting, I think, for another couple of hours. So we will not do that. But this, for you, it's good to know that this was the basis of our new brand positioning, and that we used all the different values of the creatives and achievers in our first most important brand story. So what we also did, of course, we did this first brand for this research on our target audiences. But of course, we also need to know all the things that we do as a brand, all the efforts that we put into the different markets in Europe. Is it really paying off? Has it an effect? So what we decided after the brand research of the target audience research, we decided also to do a brand awareness research, to see the development in the different markets and the development of the brands in the different markets. And we did this research in 21, 22, and 23. So 3 years in a row now. And we see that the awareness of Big Green Egg in all research markets increased. So for us, that's a very good sign, and a good to know that the things that we do and our distributors do in the market really pay off. And we also see when it comes to the consumption, when it comes to sales, the use of the big neck amongst those target audiences, creators and achievers, is increasing as well. And that's also why we do the research together with Glocalities, because they can exactly see who of the respondents is a achiever, who is a challenger, who's a conservative, who's a socializer, and who's a creative. So for us, that's very interesting to know and to see, okay, in what different audiences are we growing as a brand when it comes to the brand awareness. And Mash, maybe you want to add something to this as well?
Yes, just that once we identify the target audience, we already know in our database how to find them, and then it's we can do a very quick study just asking the core edit questions specifically for big green egg, because we can already identify so many other things about people when it comes to their segments, their values, their lifestyle. And then in brand tracker we just look at specifically their Kamado awareness and usage. So it's just very handy. So that brings us to the end, and we want to wrap up by just going over the key takeaways also for you. What can you learn from this example on how to use insights in this case study? Roel, do you want to
Yes, of
do
course.
this one?
Well,
Okay.
it's. I mean, I guess you already understood that I'm very enthusiastic about the values of consumers, and basically for me the important key takeaway is that values really helps you to understand target audiences better. It really helps you to find the right narratives that resonate with the target audiences. It also helps you to set your own brand in the right spotlight. It helps you to make a connection between what you as a brand find important and stands for, and to look for like-minded people that embrace those values. And it's also helping you very much understanding that there are differences between markets, whether it is the US and Europe, but also within Europe. And it helps you to make the right choices and to push sometimes slightly different buttons to adjust whatever you do. So I guess, yeah, that is my message I want to give. And I must say, but I should not say that maybe, but I'm very proud about the way we did this for Big Green Egg, because it worked out perfectly. And hope we brought that over in our story. So thank you.
Yes. Thank you for joining. This is the end of our presentation.